The massive crystal chamber floated in the darkness of space, spinning slowly around the gas giant Nexus Prime. Inside the transparent walls, beings from across the galaxy gathered for what they believed would be a simple vote. Ambassador Kethver stretched his scaled neck and looked around the room with yellow eyes that had seen the conquest of dozens of worlds. The reptilian Drakmori had always been the most eager when it came to finding new species to enslave. Today felt different, though. Today they would vote on a world that seemed almost too easy to take. Earth, they called it. A small blue planet on the edge of nowhere, inhabited by mammals who barely knew how to leave their own atmosphere. Kethver had spent months studying their pathetic civilization, and every piece of data made him more confident that this would be their easiest victory yet. The ambassador activated the holographic display that showed Earth rotating slowly in the center of the chamber. The planet looked peaceful from space, covered in swirling white clouds and deep blue oceans. But Kethver knew that beneath those clouds lived nearly 8 billion humans who would soon serve the Galactic Council as workers in the Outer Rim. Mining colonies. Fellow council members, Kethvar began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation devices that allowed the hundreds of different species to understand each other. I present to you the species known as humans from the planet Earth. After extensive research, I can confidently say that no world has ever offered us such easy pickings. A ripple of interest moved through the chamber. Council member Vexthul of the insectoid Chitauri clicked his mandibles together in what passed for laughter among his kind. The six-legged creature had participated in over 50 successful invasions, and he had never seen a species so unprepared for contact with galactic civilization. "Show us their military capabilities," demanded Councillor Thrak from the methane-breathing Vorthic delegation. The gas-dwelling species always wanted to know about defensive systems before they committed their own ships to any operation. Kethver smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "That is the beauty of this conquest, honored Thrak. They have no real military to speak of. Their most advanced vessels can barely reach their own moon, and even those trips take them several days using primitive chemical rockets. They fight among themselves with kinetic weapons that fire small metal projectiles. Their largest flying machines are powered by burning fossil fuels." The display changed to show grainy images of human aircraft and spacecraft. To the assembled aliens, the technology looked laughably primitive. Fighter jets that could barely break the sound barrier, rockets that took massive amounts of fuel just to escape Earth's gravity, and space stations that were little more than metal tubes spinning in orbit. What about their population centers? Asked Delegate Zixthel from the crystalline Nexari. Her species had evolved from living rock, and they always thought in terms of infrastructure and resource extraction. "Completely defenseless," Kethvar replied with growing excitement. "Their cities have no energy shields, no orbital defense platforms, and no early warning systems that could detect our approach. They still use radio waves for most of their communication, which means they cannot coordinate responses across their planet in real time. By our estimates, we could disable their entire command structure within the first hour of arrival." The chamber buzzed with approval. This was exactly the kind of easy victory that the Council loved. Rich worlds with abundant resources and a fa large population for the workforce, but without any real ability to fight back. It was like finding a vault full of treasure with the door already open. Vexthul stood on his 6 legs and addressed the assembly. "What is their technological development level compared to other species we have conquered?" Kethver consulted his datapad. "They rank among the bottom 5% of all species we have encountered. For comparison, the Deltari had faster than light communication when we conquered them 3 cycles ago. The Morvani at least had energy weapons and orbital factories. These humans are so primitive that they still burn carbon-based materials to generate power for their cities." A wave of clicking, buzzing, and other sounds that indicated amusement swept through the chamber. Even the most cautious council members were beginning to see this as a guaranteed success. The humans seemed to be exactly the kind of helpless civilization that made for perfect slaves and easy resource extraction. What about their population distribution? Asked Elder Korth of the ancient Velari. The energy beings always worried about logistics, having learned over their long existence that even easy conquests could become complicated if not properly planned. Most convenient for our purposes, Kethvar answered. 60% of their population lives in large cities along coastlines and rivers. We can capture the majority of the workforce with minimal effort. The remaining population is scattered across rural areas with no significant defensive installations. Standard intimidation tactics should be sufficient to secure their surrender. The ambassador brought up a new display showing Earth's major population centers. Cities like New York, London, Tokyo, and Mumbai glowed as bright dots on the planetary map. To the council members, each dot represented millions of future workers for their mining operations and factory worlds. How long do you estimate the operation will take? Asked General Jektar of the military caste Argani. The warrior species took pride in quick, efficient conquests that minimized their own casualties. Conservative estimate is 72 hours from arrival to complete planetary surrender, Kethvar said confidently. Most of that time will be spent processing surrender documents and beginning the relocation procedures. Actual resistance should collapse within the first day, assuming they even attempt to fight back. The council chamber fell quiet for a moment as the delegates absorbed this information. An entire planet conquered in 3 days with minimal resources required. It would be one of their most profitable operations ever, requiring only a standard intimidation fleet rather than a full battle group. What intelligence assets do we have in their system? Asked Spymaster Nex Rao of the shadow-dwelling Korvathi. Her species had evolved in the darkness between stars and specialized in gathering information without being detected. None currently, Kethvar admitted, but our long-range scans show no evidence of advanced sensor networks or deep space monitoring stations. They appear to be completely unaware of galactic civilization. Their radio telescopes are primitive, instruments designed for scientific observation rather than military surveillance. We could position our fleet at the edge of their system for days before they even noticed our presence. This news brought even more approval from the assembly. Surprise attacks were always preferable to prolonged sieges, and it sounded like the humans would be caught completely off guard. Elder Korth raised one of his energy tendrils. Are there any unusual factors we should consider? Sometimes primitive species have unexpected advantages. Kethvar consulted his notes again. Nothing significant. They do show unusual creativity in some areas, and they have a history of internal conflict, but neither factor should impact our operation. If anything, their tendency to fight among themselves means they will be poorly coordinated in their response to our arrival. The voting began immediately. One by one, each delegation cast their decision. The Drakmari voted yes, as expected. The Chitauri followed quickly, then the Vorthik, the Nexari, and dozens of other species. Not a single delegation voted against. The invasion, why would they? Everything about Earth suggested this would be the easiest conquest in Council history. The motion passes unanimously, announced Chancellor Vorthik from his position at the center of the chamber. Operation Harvest Dawn is approved. Fleet Commander Zixamor will lead a standard intimidation force of 200 vessels. Departure is scheduled for 6 rotations from today. As the council members began filing out of the chamber, chattering excitedly about their upcoming success, none of them noticed the small listening device hidden among the crystalline formations that decorated the walls. The device had been recording everything, and its signal was already racing across space toward a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. On Earth, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard what appeared to be a simple space station, orbiting the moon, but appearances could be deceiving. As he listened to the alien transmission through equipment that officially did not exist, Morrison smiled grimly and reached for his communication console. Admiral Lisa Carter needed to hear this immediately. Admiral Lisa Carter read the decoded transmission for the third time, her jaw tightening with each word. The aliens thought they knew everything about humanity, but they had only seen what Earth wanted them to see. She stood up from her desk. In the underground command center, buried 3 miles beneath Luna Base, and walked the massive holographic display that showed the real state of human defenses. "Get me General Pete Williams and Director Amy Sullivan," she told her aide. "Priority. Alpha clearance. Tell them we have a Code 7 situation." Within minutes, the 2 other members of the Joint Chiefs materialized as holograms in her command center. General Williams appeared first, his scarred face showing the results of too many battles in Earth's hidden war against alien scouts. Director Sullivan followed, her appearance as calm and collected as always, but Carter could see the tension in her eyes. "They took the bait," Carter said without preamble. "Full council vote, unanimous approval. They're sending 200 ships. In 6 days?" Williams grinned, but it was not a pleasant expression. "Perfect. How long since our last contact with their scouts?" 18 months, Sullivan answered. "The mining vessel we captured near Jupiter yielded excellent intelligence, but we made sure no trace of their technology remained for them to find. As far as the Council knows, it simply disappeared in an asteroid collision." Carter activated. The display and the solar system appeared around them in perfect detail. But this was not the solar system that the aliens expected to find. Hidden throughout the asteroid belt, dozens of weapon platforms waited in silence, their hulls designed to look like ordinary rocks. Behind the moon, invisible to any scans from Earth's direction, a full battle fleet of 30 ships hung in formation. "Status. Report on Project Guardian," Carter requested. "All stations report ready," came the voice of Commander Helen Brooks from Mars Command Center. "The net is active from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt. Every asteroid with a core mass above 10,000 tons has been equipped with our sensor package. We'll know the moment they enter the system." The display zoomed in to show Mars, where what appeared to be a simple research colony actually housed the most advanced military command center humanity had ever built. Beneath the red soil, fusion reactors powered weapon systems that could track and engage hundreds of targets simultaneously. "What about the stealth ships?" Williams asked. "All 47 vessels are in position," reported Captain Nick Turner from somewhere in the darkness of space. His voice came through quantum communication channels that the aliens had no technology to detect or intercept. "We're spread throughout the system, maintaining radio silence and full cloaking. The enemy won't see us until we want them to." Director Sullivan pulled up her own set of data. "Intelligence assets confirm that the alien fleet will arrive at the edge of the system and proceed directly toward Earth in standard intimidation formation. They expect us to surrender immediately upon seeing their ships." Carter nodded. The aliens had used the same tactics for centuries, and why wouldn't they? Every previous species they had encountered had indeed surrendered quickly when faced with superior technology and overwhelming numbers. But humanity had advantages that no other species had possessed. "Remind me of their fleet composition," Carter said. Sullivan consulted her notes. "Standard Zephyrian intimidation force. 50 heavy cruisers with energy shields and plasma cannons. 100 light destroyers for crowd control and orbital bombardment. 40 troop transports carrying ground forces, and 10 command ships. With advanced sensors and communication arrays. Total crew estimated at 75,000 beings across 200 vessels." And they think we have no way to fight back, Williams added with satisfaction. No energy weapons, no shields, no faster-than-light travel. Just chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. Carter smiled coldly. Let them keep thinking that. How long have we been preparing for this moment? Active preparation for 67 years, Sullivan answered. Ever since the first confirmed alien contact in 1957. Every piece of technology we've captured, every scout ship we've destroyed, every bit of intelligence we've gathered has been leading to this day. The truth was something that would have shocked the Galactic Council to its core. Humanity had been aware of alien civilization for decades. The crashed vessels that governments had hidden from their own people, the missing ships that alien species assumed were lost in accidents, the careful manipulation of radio telescopes to prevent detection of alien signals. Earth had been preparing for invasion while maintaining the perfect illusion of ignorance. Project Looking Glass status? Carter asked. All quantum communication arrays are online, reported Dr. Kevin Nash. From his laboratory deep beneath the Antarctic ice. We can coordinate our response across the entire system with zero delay. The aliens still use subspace radio, which means they'll be operating with a several-second delay, even within the same solar system. This was perhaps humanity's greatest secret weapon. While the aliens had faster ships and more powerful individual weapons, humans had developed instantaneous communication technology that allowed perfect coordination across impossible distances. Every ship, every weapon platform, every command center could share information and respond as a single unified force. Weapons status across all platforms? Williams inquired. Commander Brooks answered from Mars. All railgun batteries loaded and charged. Fusion warheads are armed and ready. Our improved plasma cannons are showing 96% efficiency in final tests. The hybrid kinetic energy weapons are performing beyond specifications. Carter felt a surge of pride. Human engineers had not just copied alien technology, they had improved it. Earth's weapons combined the devastating kinetic force of human ballistics with the precision and power of alien energy systems. The results were weapons that could punch through alien shields like they were made of paper. What about the boarding teams? Carter asked. All Marine units are equipped and ready, Williams replied. Powered armor incorporating alien technology. Weapons that can adapt to whatever shields the enemy uses. And full environmental suits capable of operating in any atmosphere. We've trained for this scenario for 20 years. The boarding teams were another surprise that waited for the aliens. While most species preferred to fight ship-to-ship battles, humans excelled at close-quarters combat. Earth's Marines had studied every piece of alien technology they could find, learning how to disable ships from the inside and capture valuable intelligence and equipment. Intelligence on alien psychology? Carter asked Sullivan. Complete profiles on all known species, Sullivan responded. The Drakmori are aggressive, but predictable. They'll charge directly into what they think is a weak defense. The Chitauri are cautious but arrogant, believing their technology makes them invincible. The Vorthik are methodical but inflexible, following standard tactics, even when they prove ineffective. This psychological warfare component had been developed over decades of careful observation. Human intelligence operatives had studied every alien species, learning their weaknesses, their fears, and their tactical preferences. Earth would not just outfight the invasion force. They would outthink them at every level. Timeline for the operation? Carter asked. Alien fleet arrives in 6 days, Williams said, consulting the tactical display. They'll spend approximately 8 hours crossing from the edge of the system to Earth orbit, giving us multiple opportunities to engage. We let them get comfortable, let them think they've achieved surprise, then we spring the trap. Communications. Plan? Standard intimidation response for the first phase? Sullivan answered. will broadcast confusion and fear from Earth, while our real fleet remains hidden. Let them think they're winning until it's too late to retreat." Carter looked around at her team, these men and women who had spent their careers preparing for a war that most of humanity didn't even know was coming. They had sacrificed normal lives, worked in absolute secrecy, and dedicated themselves to ensuring that Earth would be ready when the day finally came. "Final weapons check in 48 hours, she ordered. "All teams maintain current positions until the enemy fleet is detected. Remember, we get one chance at this. If we fail, Earth falls. If we succeed, we send a message to the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated." As the holograms of Williams and Sullivan faded away, Carter turned back to the tactical display. 6 days until the aliens arrived, expecting to find a helpless world ripe for conquest. Instead, they would find a trap that had been carefully prepared for over half a century. The hunter was about to become the hunted, and the aliens had no idea what was waiting for them in the darkness of space around Earth. Fleet Commander Zixamore stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Dominance, watching the small blue planet grow larger on his view screen. Earth looked exactly as the intelligence reports had described it, a peaceful world covered in swirling clouds with no visible signs of advanced civilization. Perfect for what they had planned. "Signal the fleet to assume standard intimidation formation," he ordered his communications officer. "All ships are to maintain full sensor sweeps and prepare for immediate orbital bombardment if the humans show any signs of resistance." Around him, the bridge crew of the massive vessel worked efficiently at their stations. The Drakmori had conducted dozens of these operations, and every member of the crew knew their role perfectly. The bridge itself was a testament to alien technology, with holographic displays showing every ship in their 200-vessel fleet and real-time analysis of the planet below. "Commander, we are receiving radio transmissions from the planet's surface," reported his sensor operator. "Primitive broadcasts in multiple languages. No indication that they have detected our presence." Zixamore nodded with satisfaction. Just as expected, the humans were completely unaware that their world was about to be conquered. Their crude radio, telescopes, and simple satellites had failed to detect the approach of a fleet that could be seen from several star systems away if one had proper equipment. "Time to planetary orbit?" he asked his navigator. 6 hours at current speed, Commander. All ships report ready for Phase 1 operations." The fleet moved through space in perfect formation, their energy shields glowing faintly as they prepared for what should be a simple surrender ceremony. Behind the lead ships, the troop transports carried ground forces ready to secure major population centers, while the command vessels prepared to establish orbital control and begin cataloging Earth's resources. "Begin broadcasting surrender demands," Zixamore ordered. "Use the standard intimidation protocol in all major human languages." The communications array activated, sending messages toward Earth in English, Chinese, Spanish, Hindi, and dozens of other human languages. The message was simple and had worked on hundreds of worlds before. Surrender immediately, and your population will be relocated safely to work colonies. Resist and face complete annihilation. But instead of the expected response of fear and confusion, something else came back from Earth. A single transmission, clear and strong, that reached every ship in the fleet simultaneously. "This is President Dan Cooper of the United Nations Earth Defense Force," the voice said calmly. "You came to our home uninvited. You threatened our families. That was your first mistake. It will also be your last." Zixamore frowned at the confidence in the human's voice. Most species begged for mercy at this point, or at least tried to negotiate terms for their surrender. This human sounded almost amused, as if he knew something that the fleet commander did not. "Sir, we're detecting some unusual readings from the asteroid belt," his sensor operator reported. There appear to be some metallic objects mixed in with the rocks, but they're not showing up clearly on our scans. Probably mining equipment or debris from their primitive space program. Zixamore dismissed the report. Maintain course and prepare for orbital insertion. That was when space around the fleet exploded into violence. What had appeared to be empty vacuum suddenly filled with weapons fire from dozens of hidden platforms. Railgun rounds moving at significant fractions of light speed slammed into alien shields with devastating force, while plasma beams that burned hotter than stellar cores carved through ship hulls like they were made of soft metal. "Shields down to 60%, shouted his defense officer. "Unknown weapons, extremely high energy output. How is this possible?" Zixamore demanded, grabbing his command chair as the ship shook under repeated impacts. "They don't have energy." "Weapons." But even as he spoke, more surprises revealed themselves. Ships began appearing out of nowhere around the fleet, their cloaking systems deactivating to reveal sleek vessels that moved with impossible speed and precision. These were not the crude chemical rockets that the intelligence reports had described. These were warships that incorporated technology the aliens recognized as their own, but somehow improved and refined beyond what should have been possible. "Commander, we're receiving targeting data from over 40 vessels that weren't there a moment ago," his tactical officer reported, panic creeping into his voice. "They're using weapons that combine our plasma technology with their kinetic systems. Our shields can't handle the hybrid attack pattern." Captain Nick Turner smiled grimly as his stealth destroyer USS Defiance decloaked directly behind one of the alien heavy cruisers. His ship had been waiting in this exact position for 3 days, powered down and invisible, while the alien fleet approached Earth completely unaware of the trap that had been set for them. "Target their main reactor housing," he ordered his weapons officer. "Let's show them what human engineering can do to their technology." The Defiance fired a single shot from its hybrid plasma kinetic cannon. The weapon combined alien energy technology with human railgun principles, creating a projectile that burned through the alien ship's shields and armor before detonating inside the reactor compartment. The enemy cruiser disappeared in a brief flash of light. "One down, 199 to go," Turner said calmly, already targeting his next victim. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as human ships emerged from hiding and began systematically destroying the alien fleet. Commander Helen Brooks directed the attack from Mars Command Center, her tactical display showing the positions of every friendly and enemy vessel in real time. "All units, this is Mars Command. Execute Pattern Alpha. Boarding teams prepare for Phase 2 operations." The aliens found themselves fighting a battle unlike anything they had ever experienced. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, sharing targeting data and tactical information across instantaneous communication links. When one ship took damage, others immediately moved to cover it. When alien vessels tried to retreat, they found their escape routes already blocked by ships that had somehow predicted their movements. "Sir, they're using some kind of quantum communication system," reported the communications officer aboard the Stellar Dominance. "They can coordinate their entire fleet with no delay." How did they have technology that advanced? Zixamore had no answer. Everything about this battle contradicted what they knew about human capabilities. The weapons were wrong. The ships were wrong. The tactics were wrong. It was as if humans had been preparing for this exact scenario for decades. "All ships, emergency retreat to hyperspace jump distance," he ordered. But even as he spoke, he knew it was too late. Human ships were already moving to block the retreat routes, and more weapons platforms, hidden throughout the asteroid belt, continued to fire with devastating accuracy. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Martinez led the first boarding party onto an alien troop transport, his powered armor allowing him to move through the ship's corridors with superhuman speed and strength. Behind him, a squad of Marines advanced with weapons that had been specifically designed to counter alien defenses. "Remember, we want prisoners and intact technology." Martinez spoke into his comm system. "Disable, don't destroy." The aliens inside. The transport had never faced anything like human boarding tactics. Their species preferred ship-to-ship combat, and they were unprepared for enemies who could cut through their hull armor and fight, hand-to-hand inside their own vessels. Within minutes, the transport was under human control, its crew captured, and its computer systems being rapidly downloaded by human technicians. "This is incredible," reported Lieutenant Commander Kate Phillips as she examined the alien navigation system. Their star charts show the locations of hundreds of worlds, including many that they've conquered. This is a complete map of their empire. Back on the bridge of the stellar dominance, Zixamor watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by an enemy that should not have existed. Nearly a third of his ships had been disabled or destroyed, and human boarding parties were capturing the survivors faster than he could organize a defense. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked, though he dreaded the answer. 67 vessels destroyed, 34 captured by boarding parties, and the rest are taking heavy damage, his tactical officer reported. "Sir, we need to retreat immediately, or we'll lose the entire fleet." But retreat was no longer an option. Human ships had surrounded the remaining alien vessels, and their communications were being jammed by technology that the aliens could not understand or counter. They were trapped in a solar system that had turned from an easy target into a perfectly designed trap. "Send an emergency transmission to the Council," Zixamor ordered desperately. "Tell them that the intelligence reports were completely wrong. These humans are not primitive. They have technology that matches or exceeds our own, and they've been planning this battle for much longer than we realized." As he spoke, another group of his ships disappeared under coordinated human attacks. The battle that was supposed to last hours and end in complete human surrender had turned into a rout that would leave his fleet in ruins. On Earth, President Cooper watched the battle unfold from the Situation Room, deep beneath the White House. The crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with panic as emergency reports flooded in from the human solar system. Ambassador Kethvar stood before the assembled delegates, his scaled hands shaking as he read the latest transmission. From Fleet Commander Zixamor, the confident reptilian who had assured them of easy victory, now looked like he had seen death itself approaching. "The fleet reports total tactical failure," Kethvar announced, his voice barely above a whisper. 143 vessels destroyed or captured in the first 6 hours of engagement. The humans possess technology that our intelligence reports said was impossible. Chancellor Vorthik leaned forward in his energy chair, his ancient form crackling with disbelief. "Explain how a primitive species armed with chemical rockets could destroy a fleet that has conquered 50 worlds." Kethvar activated the holographic display, but instead of showing Earth's surrender, it displayed the scattered remains of the Zephyrian fleet. Ships that had been the pride of the galactic military floated as burning wreckage, while others had simply vanished from the sensors entirely. "They were not primitive," Kethvar said, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. "Our entire intelligence assessment was wrong. The humans have been deliberately hiding their true capabilities for decades. They possess cloaking technology, quantum communication systems, and weapons that combine our own energy technology with their kinetic systems in ways we never imagined possible." Elder Korth of the Veilari energy beings pulsed with confusion. How could our scouts have missed such advanced technology? We have been monitoring their development for over a century. The truth was beginning to emerge, and it was worse than anyone had imagined. Director Amy Sullivan sat in her office on Earth, reviewing the files that human intelligence had compiled on alien scout operations. For 70 years, Earth had been carefully managing what the aliens could see, always ensuring that their observers found exactly what humanity wanted them to find. Every crashed probe, every missing scout ship, every failed surveillance operation. Sullivan explained to her assembled intelligence chiefs. We made sure the aliens saw primitive technology while we reverse-engineered everything they brought to our system. They thought they were conducting secret observations, but we were controlling every piece of information they gathered. The scope of the deception was staggering. Human engineers had studied alien technology for decades, improving upon it and integrating it with Earth's own scientific advances. While the aliens saw chemical rockets and radio telescopes, humans had been building fusion reactors, quantum computers, and weapons that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Colonel Steve Martinez led his second boarding operation of all. The day, this time targeting one of the alien command ships that had tried to establish communications with the Galactic Council. His Marines moved through the vessel's corridors with practiced efficiency, their powered armor giving them advantages that no alien defender could match. Resistance is minimal, Martinez reported as his team secured the ship's bridge. These species are not prepared for close-quarters combat. Their technology gives them advantages in space battles, but they've never had to fight enemies who could board their ships. The alien crew, a mixture of Drakmori and Chitauri officers, cowered behind their command stations as the human soldiers secured the area. To them, the humans looked like demons in their black armor, moving with impossible speed and carrying weapons that seemed to adapt to any defense. Lieutenant, Commander Kate Phillips connected her portable computer to the alien ship's main database, her fingers flying over the interface as she downloaded decades of tactical information. Sir, this is intelligence goldmine, she reported excitedly. Complete fleet compositions, base locations, even political structures of their entire empire. But the most shocking discovery was still to come. Deep in the alien computer files, Phillips found records of other species that had been conquered by the Galactic Council. Hundreds of worlds, billions of beings enslaved or destroyed, all following the same pattern that the aliens had tried to use on Earth. Colonel, you need to see this. Phillips called Martinez over to her workstation. They've done this exact same operation on over 300 worlds. Same intimidation tactics, same fleet composition, same promises of peaceful relocation that turned into permanent slavery. Martinez studied the data, his jaw tightening as he realized the scope of the Council's crimes. How many species have they wiped out completely? At least 40 that I can find records for, Phillips answered grimly. Species that tried to resist and were annihilated as examples to others. The Council has been running a galactic protection racket for over 1,000 years. This information was immediately transmitted back to Earth, where Admiral Carter and her staff began to understand the true nature of their enemy. The Galactic Council was not just a political organization. It was a criminal empire that had built its power by preying on species that could not defend themselves. Change of mission parameters, Carter announced to her fleet commanders. This is no longer just about defending Earth. We're looking at a liberation operation for hundreds of enslaved worlds. Meanwhile, on the captured alien vessels, human interrogation specialists were learning the psychological weaknesses of their enemies. Dr. Linda Gray, Earth's leading expert in xenopsychology, interviewed captured Chitauri officers and discovered something remarkable about alien military doctrine. They've never faced an enemy that could match their technology. Dr. Gray reported to the command staff. Every species they've encountered has been significantly less advanced. They have no experience with fighting equals, let alone enemies who might be superior. This psychological advantage proved just as important as the technological one. The aliens had built their entire military strategy around intimidating weaker opponents. When faced with an enemy that could not be intimidated, their tactical flexibility collapsed completely. Captain Nick Turner commanded the USS Defiance as it shepherded a group of captured alien transports toward Luna Base. His crew was busy interrogating prisoners and cataloging alien technology, but Turner's attention was focused on something else entirely. Communications. Open a channel to the lead transport, he ordered. I want to speak with their ranking officer. The face of a Drakmori commander appeared on his view screen, the reptilian's yellow eyes filled with confusion and fear. Through the translation software, Turner could hear the alien's words clearly. Why do you spare us? The commander asked. Your species is unknown to us, but your military capabilities suggest you could easily destroy all survivors. Turner considered his answer carefully. Because we're not like your council. We don't conquer worlds or enslave populations. We fight to protect our home and free those who cannot free themselves. The alien commander's expression shifted from fear to something that might have been hope. Free those who cannot free themselves, he repeated slowly. You mean the conquered worlds? That's exactly what I mean, Turner replied. Your empire has been built on the suffering of hundreds of species. That ends now. Word of Earth's victory was spreading throughout the galaxy faster than the Council could contain it. On worlds that had been enslaved for generations, populations that had given up hope began to whisper about a new species that had destroyed an entire Council fleet. Resistance movements that had been dormant for decades started planning operations against their alien overlords. General Pete Williams reviewed the tactical reports from the battle, noting how effectively human doctrine had countered alien strategies. Their biggest mistake was assuming we would fight like every other species they've encountered. He observed to his staff. They expected us to meet them ship to ship in open space. Instead, we used stealth, ambush tactics, and boarding operations that they had no defense against. The success of human boarding teams had been particularly devastating to alien morale. Species that had dominated space warfare for centuries had never developed effective anti-boarding defenses because no previous enemy had ever attempted such tactics. Sir, we're receiving surrender offers from 12 more alien vessels, reported Commander Brooks from Mars Command. They're requesting safe passage in exchange for complete disclosure of Council military assets. Williams smiled. Accept their surrender and get them to Luna Base for debriefing. The more we learn about Council operations, the better we can plan our next moves. As the battle entered its final phase, only 37 alien ships remained operational, and most of those were already surrounded by human forces. Fleet Commander Zixamur sat in his damaged command chair, staring at the tactical display that showed the complete destruction of his fleet. Sir, the humans are requesting our surrender, his communications officer reported. They promise fair treatment of prisoners and adherence to what they call the laws of war. Zixamur had never heard of laws that applied to warfare, but at this point he had no choice. His fleet was destroyed, his mission had failed completely, and continuing to fight would only result in the death of his remaining crew. Signal surrender to all remaining ships, he ordered wearily. Tell them that fleet. Commander Zixamur formally yields to the human forces and requests terms for the safe treatment of survivors. 3 days had passed since the last alien ship surrendered to human forces, and the galaxy was already beginning to change in ways that the Galactic Council had never imagined possible. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the main communications center at Luna Base, preparing to address the Council directly through their own quantum communication networks that had been captured from the alien fleet around her. The evidence of humanity's victory was overwhelming. Captured alien vessels filled the orbital shipyards, while teams of human engineers worked around the clock to understand and improve upon the technology they had seized. But more importantly, the intelligence gathered from alien computers had revealed the true scope of the Council's empire and the suffering it had caused across hundreds of worlds. Admiral, we have confirmed contact with the Council chamber, reported Lieutenant Commander Kate Phillips from her position at the communications console. All major council members are present, and they are ready to receive your transmission. Carter nodded and stepped forward to face the holographic projector that would carry her image across the galaxy to the crystalline chamber where alien leaders waited in fear. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, but nothing could have prepared her for the weight of speaking for all humanity. To an empire that had ruled space for over a millennium, the transmission activated, and Carter found herself looking at the assembled delegates of the Galactic Council. She could see the fear in their alien faces, the confusion and disbelief that their mighty fleet had been completely destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. But Carter felt no sympathy for them. The files recovered from alien computers had shown her exactly what kind of monsters she was dealing with. "Members of the Galactic Council," Carter began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation. "Systems. I am Admiral Lisa Carter of the United Nations Earth Defense Force. 3 days ago, you voted unanimously to invade our world and enslave our population. Today, I am here to inform you that your empire of oppression and conquest has come to an end." Ambassador Kethvar tried to speak, but Carter continued without pause. "Your invasion fleet has been completely destroyed or captured. Fleet Commander Zixamor and his surviving crew are currently being held as prisoners of war according to human military law. But more importantly, we have recovered your complete military database, including records of every world you have conquered, every species you have enslaved, and every genocide you have committed in the name of galactic order." The council chamber erupted in panicked discussion as the delegates realized the scope of what humanity had learned. For centuries, they had kept their crimes hidden from each other, with only the highest-ranking members knowing the full extent of the council's brutality. Now all of their secrets were in human hands. Chancellor Vorthik raised one of his energy appendages, demanding attention. "Human Admiral, you have defeated one fleet, but the Council commands thousands of ships across hundreds of systems. You cannot hope to challenge the entire galaxy." Carter smiled coldly. "Chancellor, you're operating under the same flawed assumptions that led to your fleet's destruction. You still think in terms of the old galaxy, where advanced species prey upon primitive ones. That galaxy no longer exists." As she spoke, new information was flooding into the council chamber from across their empire. Reports of massive uprisings on conquered worlds, coordinated attacks on council installations, and the complete breakdown of the fear-based system that had held their empire together for so long. Commander Rick Harper led the first human expeditionary force as it emerged from hyperspace near the Deltari home system. 3 years ago, the Deltari had been conquered by the Council and their population enslaved in orbital mining platforms. But the news of Earth's victory had spread faster than any Council attempt to contain it, and resistance movements across the galaxy were rising up against their oppressors. "This is Commander Harper of the Earth Liberation Fleet," he broadcast on all frequencies as his ships approached the system. "We bring greetings from the free world of Earth and an offer of alliance to all beings who seek freedom from Council oppression." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Deltari resistance fighters, who had been hiding in the asteroid belts for years, began attacking Council installations throughout the system. Within hours, the orbital mining platforms were under rebel control, and the few Council ships in the system were either destroyed or fleeing toward the galactic core. Similar scenes were playing out across dozens of systems as the news of Earth's victory inspired enslaved populations to throw off their chains. The psychological impact of seeing the mighty Council fleet destroyed had broken the spell of fear that had kept the Empire together. Amy Sullivan coordinated the intelligence war from her command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her teams were analyzing the captured alien databases and identifying every Council military installation, every enslaved world, and every species that had been ground under the alien empire's heel. "Status report on Operation Freedom," she requested. From her intelligence chiefs. 47 worlds have declared independence from the Council in the past 72 hours, reported Colonel David Park. Resistance movements on another 130 worlds have initiated active operations against Council forces. We're seeing a complete collapse of Council authority throughout the Outer Rim territories. The domino effect was accelerating beyond what anyone had expected. Species that had been enslaved for generations were rediscovering their courage and striking back against their oppressors. The Council's greatest weakness had always been that their power depended on fear, and humanity had shown the galaxy that the Council could be defeated. Back in the Council chamber, the alien leaders watched their empire crumble in real time. Emergency reports flooded in from across the galaxy, as system after system declared independence, or simply stopped responding to Council communications altogether. "This is impossible," snarled Council member Vexthul, his mandibles clicking in. Agitation. "These species have been peaceful for centuries. They lack the military capability to challenge our authority." Admiral Carter's image smiled on the holographic display. "They lack your technology, but they don't lack courage. And they're not fighting alone anymore. The Earth Liberation Fleet is already providing support to resistance movements across your former empire." General Pete Williams oversaw the rapid deployment of human forces to key systems throughout the galaxy. Unlike the Council's slow, bureaucratic military machine, Earth's forces could adapt and respond with incredible speed. Human ships equipped with quantum communication systems could coordinate operations across impossible distances, while their hybrid weapons technology gave them decisive advantages in every engagement. "Sir, we have confirmed liberation of the Morvani system," reported Captain Betty Walsh from her command ship. Local resistance forces eliminated the Council garrison with minimal casualties. They're requesting technical assistance to rebuild their defensive capabilities. Williams approved the request immediately. "Send a full engineering team and enough equipment to establish a basic defense grid. These people have been slaves for 80 years. They deserve the chance to defend their freedom." The human approach to liberation was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of simply replacing one empire with another, Earth was genuinely committed to helping enslaved species regain their independence and self-determination. Human engineers worked alongside alien resistance fighters, sharing technology and tactical knowledge freely. Dr. Linda Gray established psychological support centers on newly liberated worlds, helping populations recover from generations of oppression. "The Council didn't just enslave bodies," she explained to her team. "They crushed spirits and destroyed cultural identity. Healing these wounds will take time, but it's essential if these species are going to build lasting freedom." Meanwhile, Fleet Commander Zixmore sat in his detention cell on Luna Base, writing his final report to the Council. As a prisoner of war, he had been treated with more dignity and respect than the Council had ever shown to conquered enemies. Human guards ensured his safety, provided adequate food and medical care, and even allowed him access to communication systems to contact his family. "The humans fight with honor," he wrote, the words feeling strange as he transmitted them to the Council chamber. "They take prisoners instead of executing survivors. They treat conquered territory as liberated rather than conquered. They offer alliance instead of demanding surrender. I begin to understand why their victory was so complete. They fight for principles that we abandoned long ago." The psychological impact of Zixamore's report sent shockwaves through the remaining Council leadership. Here was their own fleet commander, a decorated veteran of dozens of successful conquests, praising the very enemies who had destroyed his fleet. Ambassador Kethvar read the report with growing dread. "He has been corrupted by human propaganda. he insisted to the other council members. No species fights for principles over profit. It is impossible. But Elder Korth of Ivelari had lived long enough to recognize truth when he heard it. Perhaps that is why we lost, the ancient energy being observed.